Yep, my mic was muted. Didn't even realize that. What's up, guys? What's up, Darky Darko? How's it going, everybody? Just waiting for a few more people to get here. Hello, Chase. Hello, Iggy. Welcome back. Hello, Dale. I saw your question earlier. Let me actually pull that up while we're waiting on some more people to get in here. What's up, Ghostface96? I'm doing great. Hope you're doing good. All right. Dale says, "Hi, Nate. Just a question. What are the different robes used in Scream 1996? Because when Ghostface wears the K&B mask, the robe and hood look different." Yeah. So to answer that question quickly, basically, um, Scream was really rushed into production. So they did a lot of. They were basically still toying with the look of Ghostface while they were shooting the film, for better or worse. In regards to the costume and even the mask, as you know, they created the K&B mask, but they really wanted to use the mask that they found, which was the Fun Roll mask. And they were also messing with the hoods. Like K&B had gray hoods on some of them and black hoods on others. So there's a few shots in the movie where you can see the gray hood. So they were really just kind of in production while filming. They were still messing with the look of Ghostface, trying to get it right. And basically, the first costume they shot with was one of several that was designed that they were still kind of on the fence about. I believe it was a lot wider. There's a lot more fabric to it, and it had much skinnier arm tassels. Like they were really skinny. They were like that skinny, and the hood was really small. It didn't have that big, foam insert in it that has become the staple look of Ghostface. So they were basically just toying with uh, the look of him during production. So when they shot that opening scene, that was just one of the versions of the robe that they had created, um, for potential use. One of the many designs, and they also had another design that had the foam insert and different wider arm tassels, arm streamers, whatever you want to call them. So you kind of get to see both, a couple of variations of the costume in the movie, similar to the fact that you get to see several different variations of the mask and the hood on the mask, because they were basically just still toying with the look of Ghostface while they were making the movie. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Mud Bucket. What I would do, yeah, I would love to own anything, any mask worn by Melissa Barrera, especially from one of the Scream films. You like the K&B in the background? Yeah, that's one of the ones that Clive did, at Burkbench Designs. That's actually his final version of the K&B, and it's literally made from exact measurements of a screen use K&B that I used to own. So I know there's a lot of K&B replicas out there, and I'm not saying that there's not others that look really, really, really good. They look really good and impressive, but I can tell you for a fact that Clive's is the only one that has the correct dimensions and measurements and depth and whatnot. Um, yeah, Iggy, if you watch the movie again, especially when he's like that infamous slow mo scene where he's running behind Casey right before he stabs her, just pay attention to the hood, pay attention to the arm the tassels coming off the arm. Very, very, very different. For different reasons, but why did they add the robe sparkly? I thought it was always seemed odd on the fact some cheap robe would be sparkly. Well, the reason that they chose the sparkly fabric, it's kind of a long story, but I can give you the shortened version. Basically, Wes originally wanted the costume to be white because it was supposed to be a ghost. In the original script, Ghostface was written as just wearing a Ghostface mask and not wearing anything else. So it was kind of up to the filmmakers to decide what else he was wearing. And Wes always envisioned a white costume. And the production costume designer, Cynthia Bergstrom, she actually made one, even though she didn't want to. She's told me a million times, like, this was a whole big thing. We basically begged Wes from day one, like, don't make the costume white. It's going to be a nightmare with the dirt and the blood, and it's just going to get stained. And we're going to have to match the stains and everything. Like, but Wes really wanted it to be white, so she made a prototype that was white, and it was the way she described it to me was that it was almost like a rain slicker. It was almost like a windbreaker type material, and it was pullover, and it was really long. It went down just below the knees, and it had a hood, but it was all like plastic, that kind of plastic nylon, like windbreaker type material. And thankfully, Wes didn't like it once he saw it. So he then said, okay, it should be black. But Wes's concern was that if it's black, we don't want it to look like a floating head on screen. If the whole entire outfit is this dark black and the mask is this like stark bone white, we don't want it to look like a floating white head on screen. You know, the camera and the lighting can only do so much. He was afraid that, you know, it might look silly. It might come out, because they shot on film back then. So he didn't want to get the dailies back and it just looks like a white head, like, running after somebody. So he had concern about that. So he basically just said, can you come up with a way that the costume would be black, but it would actually show up better on film? And, they said, yeah, sure, we'll figure it out. And one day they were having lunch in Santa Rosa, I believe. And there was a little costume shop there, little fabric shop. And one of the producers that was having lunch with the costume designer, Cynthia Bergstrom, they were walking down the sidewalk after they had lunch. They walked past this fabric store, and the fabric was in the window. It was a black fabric that had the sparkly, shiny silver lurex in it, and it shimmered in light. And they said, oh, that's it. That's what we need to do with the costume. It's got to have a little bit of sparkle to it. So when the lights on set hit it, it shimmers just enough to pick it up. So they basically selected that fabric and that look to appease Wes's concern. And his concern was, I don't want it to be so dark that you can't see a figure, that you just see the mask. So that was why they went with the sparkly look. PJ, have you tried to make your own Scream costume in the past? No, I have no I have no desire to do that. There's already so many people out there like Scream Robes that make amazing replicas. So yeah, if I had the talent and the time, I would try it. But let's see, does Burkbench still sell the final KMB? I have no idea. He might still have some left. I would just recommend messaging him and private messaging him and asking if he has any left that he could sell. The Boots Guide. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. I still have yet to do a definitive one, because there's one we're still missing, which is the killer's boots in Scream 2 when Randy is killed and you see the underneath the van and the costume comes up and they're almost like dress shoes, like dress boots walking away. Those are technically the only ones that still aren't 100% identified, but every other boot in all the movies has been identified. So someday we'll figure that one out too. Is that mask on the white cabinet screen used? Yes, they both are. Again, I apologize for the lighting. We're still working out the lighting. I do have a lighting kit that I'm going to be setting up back here. Basically, I made this horrible decision several years ago that it was like my teenage dream come true. I was like, oh, I have my own house now and I have my own room to put to do videos in and put my stuff in. I want it to be black. Like I want all the walls to be black. So I literally painted the walls in here black. So there's black and there's one wall that's purple behind me. And it was a great idea. I loved it until I started doing videos in here and I was like, wow, the lighting in here is awful. So we're working on that. Where are the Scream 96 robes today? We kind of talked about that on the last stream, but there's at least 4, I want to say, that are confirmed, accounted for. There's one at Planet Hollywood, and the other 3 are in private collectors' hands. I do believe the Wes Craven estate has one, so I guess that would be 5, but I don't have that like confirmed 100%. Spray on for the sparkle on the robes in Scream 5. I wouldn't say it was a last minute decision. We looked at a lot of different fabrics with the costume designer, with Emily Guncher, trying to find like the absolute perfect look that she was going for, while also being, respective to what came before. And most of the stuff that was being found, like the samples I was being sent and that we were comparing to the Scream used robes, they were either way too sparkly and showed up even worse on camera, or the fabric itself, like the sparkle would be good, but the fabric was kind of like crappy. So it was basically like a fail. And she had originally toyed with the idea. She was always toying with the idea of doing a spray on if she could find the perfect fabric. So that idea was kind of always there. And then, it just kind of came down to that just ended up being the best option. Found the perfect fabric, but it had no sparkle. Spray on was the way to go. Who did I enjoy meeting the most from Screen cast members? Probably, it would probably be a tie between Skeet and Nev. I met them both at the same time, separately, but the same day. But they were both so amazing. Skeet was particularly awesome because he had a lot to say. He had a lot to talk about. He actually had questions for me when I was presenting him with some of the items that I had from the original Scream. Very friendly, very down-to-earth guy. What was interesting about meeting him was one of my favorite, actually, like I call it like a bad action movie, but it's really like a B action movie, like a newer B movie, is Chill Factor with Skeet and Cuba Gooding Jr. I just love that movie. I loved it. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I thought it was just so corny and amazing. It really made me, it reminded me of the, cheesy action movies that I liked in the 80s, but, it was like the 2000s, and here was this movie that was like that. So I've always loved that movie. And I actually ended up really cheaply, because not a lot of people are fans of that movie. I actually ended up getting his screen used shirt from that movie that he wears almost for the entire movie. And I had it for years. And I swear I probably paid like $50 for it. Like, it was nothing. It came with like this amazing COA, custom like cut sleeves and everything. It's definitely the one that he wore. And I brought that amongst other items for him to sign when I met him. And the first day that we just talked all Scream. I didn't even get a chance to pull the Chill Factor shirt out. And him and I talked for a long time about Scream. Never even got to mention Chill Factor. But we talked about Scream. We talked about, like, did you keep anything? Blah, blah, blah. And, of course, he kept the boots, but he didn't have them anymore. And, he gave me this long story about, like, yeah, it kind of sucks. Like, I just kept the boots because they were my size, and they told me to keep them, and I loved them, and I wore them, for years after the movie came out till I wore them out. But he was like, if I was smart, I would have kept a lot more stuff, because I really don't have anything from a lot of the movies that I did. I wish I did. So I thought about it, and I was like, as much as I love that movie, I paid $50 for it, and certainly it's more sentimental to him because he starred in the movie. He's the one that wore it throughout the whole movie. So the next day, I went to his table and totally remember my name, shook my hand again. We talked for like 5 minutes about Chill Factor. He was really surprised. He's like, dude, you're the only one that brought up Chill Factor. And I presented him his screen used shirt from Chill Factor, and I told him, I said, I don't want you to sign it. It's yours. I want you to have it, gifting it to you. And he was very emotional. Super nice guy. He was amazing. Abdullah says, what is the backstory of the Trilogy knife? Is it true they use both Buck 120 and custom made knives for the first trilogy? I'm not trying to think of an answer. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by custom knives. So if what you mean is, like, did they make their own versions of the buck knife, like rubber and stuff like that? Yes. So for Scream 1, the hero knife used in close-ups, like when he's, holding it above Casey before he stabs down, that's just a shot of the hand. There's no actress actually down there that they're stabbing into, so they could use a real knife. So anytime there was like a close-up of the knife, it was a real Buck 120 that was dulled. That was the hero knife. And then, of course, they molded that knife and made rubber versions of it for everything else where they couldn't use a real knife. The rubber knives were typically used in shots where they wouldn't be shown on screen super close up, the way that a hero knife would. So it didn't really matter what condition they were in, to a certain extent. Of course, if they were all bent up and, whatever, they wouldn't reuse them. But basically, because they weren't used in close-ups, they were able to reuse some, not all, some of the rubber knives that were originally made for Scream 1. They were able to reuse some of those for Scream 2 and 3 because the productions were so close to each other. Now they always made their own for each movie. So that doesn't mean that they never made special rubber knives for Scream 2 or 3. They did. But there was a batch from the first Scream that carried over to 2 and 3 to use for the stunt knives. Let's see what else else do we have here? Hello, Jester. Greenie, I plan on making a fan film and have my own slightly custom design for the robe. Do you know any robe makers that are willing to make one based on my design? Probably. I'm sure Scream Robes would. I'm sure any of them would, honestly. It's just it would take some time. You know, they would have to create a pattern based on your design, so it would not be something that would happen quickly. But again, I don't make robes myself, so I don't know what all that entails. My thoughts on Scream 3 when it came out, I liked it. I, obviously recognized seeing it. I saw it on opening day, an early screening. It was like early afternoon. I obviously recognized that it was less scary and less gory than the other two, and that it kind of leaned more into comedy, which kind of bugged me a little bit, but I still liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. I didn't really have, I probably found more issues with it upon repeat viewings, but my first impression of seeing it was that it was really good. I was just kind of surprised by how much comedy was in it versus scares. Do I know what was used for the opening robe in Scream 6? I don't know for sure. I'm going to assume it's magnets because I know they did take a lot of design tips from the Scream 5 robe. For those of you who don't know, the Scream 5 robe, the closure system is magnet. It was a magnet closure. So a little bit different than the other movies. Ghostface himself is here. Hello. What are the hero knives for the big character kill scenes like Randy's death or Dewey's? Not sure. So you mean like what type of knives were used? So the hero knives are only used for close up when they're not like in any danger of injuring an actor. So that doesn't mean that they can't be used in a scene with an actor, but if they're being like that, if there's an actor there. So Randy's death scene, obviously you can't see past the van door. You just see what's going on in the window, the stabbing. So Jamie Kennedy wasn't actually laying there because that knife is clearly, if you look at it, it's one of the hero knives. Those were made out of aluminum for Scream 2. They cast a buck knife and made some out of solid aluminum, so they were super shiny. If you watch Scream 2 compared to the other movies, the knife is so shiny, almost looks fake. And I don't mean that like disrespectfully to the prop masters or anybody that works on film, as you know, I'm friends with all of them. But the aluminum was like so shiny that it almost didn't even look like a real knife. But yeah, so that was that. Dewey's death. Most of anybody that was stabbed in Scream 5, they used a VFX knife for the most part. So it was just a handle that had like a little piece of foam on it. I actually have one. It's not here. It's downstairs. But it has like a piece of foam on it that was green and had little dots on it so they could add the blade in later. It was basically the newer version of a retractable knife since they don't use retractables anymore because they're so dangerous. Do we know if they use a foam insert for the hood of Scream 6? I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about people owning Scream-used robes. To me, it doesn't look like they did. It just looks like they used really thick, floppy material for the hood. As far as the robes, I know the Scream 6 ones are still around. There are some from 5 floating around, but nobody owns them. Paramount has them. A lot of them were thrown away, as we talked about in the last stream, due to COVID protocols. But there are some 5 ones still around. Radio Silence has one in their office along with a mask. Scream 6, Paramount kept all that stuff. So who knows if they'll ever turn up for an auction or not. The exact knife used to kill Dewey. So when he's getting stabbed, it would have been one of the VFX knives, which was just a handle with a foam piece that had green and pink colors on it so they could add the blade in later. Jester, favorite movie monster? That's a tough one. Favorite movie monster? Probably get shit for it, but I love the Cloverfield monster. I love that design. I think Cloverfield monster looks amazing. Say what you will about the movie. I personally liked it. I understand a lot of people don't. Found footage has that bad whatever. A lot of people don't like stuff like that, but I thought they did a really amazing job, especially for a newer at the time, a newer movie like that had a monster. I thought the design was really original. Am I able to say what glitter spray they use? I honestly don't know exactly what it was called. I could find out though. I'll find out and let you guys know in the next chat. Some things I would like to see in Scream 7 that didn't happen in Scream 6 or the prior movies. Well, I've said it many, 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 many times, and I don't know if I necessarily want to see it for sure, because it would just be like one of those moments of like, oh no, for a certain certain character that we all love, probably. But something that's never happened in 6 Scream films is it's never happened. Think about it. We've never had a survivor of a previous film be Ghostface in a sequel. It's never happened. Every single movie, the killer or killers is a brand new character. It's never been somebody that we know from the past, like in that sense of the word. Obviously, Mrs. Loomis was technically from the past, but she wasn't a character in Scream 1. She just popped up as somebody else, and then it was like, oh, I'm the killer, and by the way, I'm Mrs. Loomis. She was still a new character in the series, Debbie Salt, aka Mrs. Loomis. 6 films. We've never seen a previous survivor be Ghostface in the sequel. So I think if they really want to throw people off, that would be what needs to be done. It's kind of surprising when you think about it, isn't it? 6 movies, and there's never been a Ghostface killer that isn't a brand new character in that movie. Kind of helps you narrow it down when you think about it. You go watch a new Scream movie, you're like, well, it's none of these 4 survivors. It's got to be one of these 4 new characters. Holy Grail would love to own. Probably either the Scream 1 voice changer or the Scream 3 voice changer. One of those two. Nobody knows where the Scream 1 voice changer is till this day. I know where the Scream 3 voice changer is, but the guy doesn't want to sell it. Yeah, Maddie, I'll find out for you. I'll message Emily tomorrow and figure out what the spray was and let you know. Yes. Dale, have you seen the uncut version of Scream 96? Yeah, that's, in my opinion, that's the only way to watch it. It just sucks that it's limited to basically VHS quality, or DVD quality. I would love to see that get a proper restoration and release. Yeah, hopefully someday. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just catching up on your comments here. Let's see. And then Maddie says I ended up messaging one of the owners of the Scream on Screen Years Row. He priced at $100K. Yeah, I mean, prices are crazy right now. After that Scream 2 robe went for, I think it was 72,000 at auction earlier this year. Pretty much everybody that had a screen use robe from any of the films was like held it a little tighter and was like, okay, these are way jumping up in value. And, I mean, as high as that is, I get it. If a Scream 2 robe went for 72,000, I could see wanting 100,000 for a Scream 1 robe, because they would probably get that, if not more, if they put it at an auction. Hello, Kay. Welcome back. Thanks for watching, as always. What's up, Samir? Samir's in the house. Good friend, Samir. Yes, the fabric for 5 is not made anymore. It was purchased from France. Apparently, it was already discontinued when it was purchased. So, to the best of my knowledge, it's not out there anymore. Now, does that mean that there's not a similar version or an exact type that's just not the same maker? I don't know. I could probably find that out too. Do I think the Scream 6 Loomis mask is too close to the zombie mask? I can see some people that think that, but honestly, I don't even think the filmmakers or especially the costume designer that did the mask even knew that mask existed. Just recently, the costume designer Avery Pluez posted how she designed those masks, how she came up with that. I mean, she's talked about it a lot, about how when they said how they wanted them to look, she was hesitant because she's like, but masks don't age like that. And they were like, it's a movie, suspension of disbelief. Like, we want it to look cracked and aged and whatever. So she literally was inspired by these 3 photographs of these old porcelain dolls that were aging and cracking and peeling. And she posted recently, check out her Instagram, the exact photos that she was inspired by, and you can see them like boom, boom, boom. It's like this doll's face was the Billy Loomis mask. This one was Stu's mask. This one was Mrs. Loomis's mask. Yeah, similar is what I would say in just the way it's designed, but again, it was definitely not intentional. Like I said, I don't even think the filmmakers were even aware that there was a zombie mask that had, similar aging to that. How many killers would be too many killers for a Scream film? They could top Scream 6 or tone it down. Hard to tell. I know Kevin recently said in his podcast that his original and only, very key. Again, Kevin's pretty much come out and said it. Stu's dead, and Stu was never going to be the killer in any version of Scream 3. But his only version of Scream 3 that he actually wrote the treatment for, there were 4 killers. That was the big twist, was that not only were all these characters that we thought died actually alive, but they were killers, and there were 4 of them. I don't know why I just held up 8. That's not 4. That's 8. That's 2 4s. That's 8. 4. There were 4 killers. So, do I buy the talk that Scream 7 will move away from stab and towards true crime stories? Never heard that rumor. I don't know. As far as true crime goes, I have heard that there's a possibility that the story for Scream 7 will revolve around the making of a true crime docuseries about the Woodsboro murders, and then murders start happening. So if that's what you're talking about, maybe. Dale would love it if they brought back the Gen 1. I think we all would. Whether or not that'll happen, I don't know. I've talked to RJ about it personally. I can't really say either way. He didn't, and that's not me being like secretive. I didn't get a clear answer on if or when it would ever happen. Um, Matty Ice. Did they ever? Yes, Scream Robes has probably the closest screen accurate fabric to the original trilogy that I've ever seen. But I do believe you have to request when you order that type of fabric, because he still has a lot of his original fabric that he used. But yeah, he has probably the closest it's been compared to robes from all 3 films, including mine, and it's night and day exact. Okay, this makes sense now. All right, what's up, Abdul? Thanks for watching, man. Guys, this is Abdul. We should all thank him. He's the one that allowed that amazing video on the channel to be made of his now proudly owned Scream 3 hero mask from the opening scene of Scream 3. We appreciate that very much. Favorite years for era for an EU? I don't know. I really like the Scream 3 masks a lot. I've always loved them. I know some people don't like them because they're almost too symmetrical. In fact, Wes went on record many times on set during Scream 3 and 4 saying they didn't really like the new masks. They weren't twisted enough. They were too perfect. They were too symmetrical. That's kind of why he went with that Walgreens mask for the reshoots of 4, because it didn't look symmetrical. It looked weird and different. That's what he liked about it. How do I feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween movies? I can tolerate the first one to a certain extent. The second one, I honestly can't even sit through. I've tried many times. Not that I never have. I saw it in theaters on opening night, and it was painful for me to watch. I thought it was really bad. Um, like I said, I can tolerate the first one. I can appreciate it for what it is. It's not my favorite, but I can tolerate it. I usually watch the first one at least once every October, usually, if I can. The second one, I just can't. If I put the second one on, I pretty much watch like the hospital opening, like that 20-minute opening at the hospital. And then from there, I'm like, all right, I've seen enough. How much do I think the age mask will be bought for Scream 6? I think it could get at least 30,000, if not more. Depends on how much they advertise it. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to help them advertise, especially because it's for charity. That Scream 6, the mask that they auctioned earlier this year, the white one, the regular one, but that's the opening scene mask from Scream 2. That one went for like 27,000. Amazing amount of money, but if that had been in like prop store, that probably would have went for like 50,000. And I know it's different. Prop stores, straight up sale. This is charity auction, but I just think if we can get it reached out to the right people and make sure the right people know about it, I think it could get a lot more. Trying to make a stab cutout like Douglas has. Where can I find the files? I can send them to you if you make me one. I'm just kidding. Send me an email. I think I still have the files somewhere. I can't guarantee or promise that 100%. So Scream official news. I'm putting my email in here right now. Send me an email about it, and I will check. And if I still have them, I'll send them to you, and then you can make me one. I'm just kidding. Down for an interview? Yeah, I'll do it. Why not? I just put my email in for the files. Like I said, if I find them, I'll send you the file for that stab cutout. But yeah, email me about that. I'm down for that. Yeah, that's not just like only you can email me. No, whoever sees that, if you have any questions or anything that you're wondering, you can send me an email, send me whatever. So what did everybody think about the mask? I know there's been some people that have questioned if it is actually the exact mask from that scene, the exact 100%, like this is the one. All I can say is this, without a doubt, 100%. That mask was donated to Fun World specifically to be auctioned off at that charity auction. And it is 100% from Paramount, from Spyglass, from that film. That mask was made for and used in that film. Now, you have to keep in mind when you're trying to do comparisons of like all the little everything's little nook and crannies on the mask, there wasn't just one aged Billy mask in that movie. There wasn't just two. There was probably like 4 or 5 versions of each version of the mask, and different versions were used for different takes and different scenes, and shot various versions and takes with different masks, and then nobody has any control over what take or version is actually used in the final cut. But as delivered to Fun World, this mask had the tag on it as the #1 Sam reveal mask. So the mask is legit, 110%, no questions about it. And as far as trying to like literally screen match 100%, it's kind of pointless just because there were so many used. And you have to remember too, this is a charity auction. It's not a prop store auction. So, you know, they're not I'm kicking my light over here. They're not like, they don't have like, this auction house doesn't normally get stuff like this. So they don't have like a team to like prop store does to like analyze every little thing and be like, okay, it's production used, it's screen more, screen mat, whatever. They don't have that. You know, they're just going by what they're told. What they're told by Paramount is like, this is a screen used mask from Scream 6. It's got the wardrobe tag on it still. Sam reveal mask. Here you go. Donated to charity. So that's what they're saying. That's what they're going with. And that's what it is. Whether or not it's the exact same mask, like frame from frame from frame, you know, that's not really for, you know, that's kind of irrelevant at this point. You know, they're not auctioning it for that reason. You know, they're trying to make money for a really good charity. So, you know, I think it's one thing to question the authenticity of a mask that pops up in like prop store on eBay. It's just some guy trying to make like a bunch of money. But we know it's from Paramount. We know it's from Spyglass. We know it was from the film. We know it was used in the film. Whether or not that particular mask made it to the final cut or not, we don't know that for sure. No one can really say that for sure unless they were on set the day it was used. But with it being for charity, I personally feel like there's no point in trying to figure out, was it used, was it not, was it this, was it that? Well, this looks different, that looks different. Da 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 da. Just let it sell for charity. Let them make the money. Like I said, the one thing we know for sure is it's the real deal. It came from Paramount. It has the tag on it. That's the mask. That's the scene it was for. I personally, as a collector, wouldn't complain if I bought it and was like, hey, wait, this little dot here is here in the movie, but it's here on that. Oh, well. Like, you've got a one of one. It's the only aged mask that's probably ever going to make it out in a collector's hand. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, mud bucket, 100%. That's what I mean. Like, you know, there's so many versions of it made, and you know, like I said again, if it was just on eBay or something, I could see like nitpicking and doing detective work and, you know, trying to figure out exactly, well, this isn't what they're saying. It's for charity and it's 100% donated from Paramount and Spyglass. You know, they're vouching for it. It's clearly one of the masks that was made for the film. You know, I'm not bidding on it. Let whoever gets it enjoy it. Do I know Funwell will ever make a stew aged mask? I did ask that question before. The answer I basically got was maybe. So that's all I can tell you. I was told maybe. Do I agree that the ghost face lurking in woods and storing original Scream could have been Roman? I have thought of this before, and I'm kind of torn. On one hand, because Roman is technically canon, you could say yes. On the other hand, we know that when Scream 1 was shot, that was never, ever, 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 ever even a thought in anybody's mind that there would be a Scream 3, Scream 2, let alone a 3, or that there was this character behind it all. So on that hand, you almost have to say, no, it's not Roman. It's got to be Billy or Stu, because Roman wasn't even a thing when they wrote and directed the first Scream. I think it's for sure still around somewhere. It's actually in Super Troopers. Is it Super Troopers? Am I saying? I feel like it is. Yeah, it's in Super Troopers. The prop was. Hold on, my Alexa's playing like weird music. Let me get this to stop. Alexa, stop. That was weird. Yeah, it's the exact prop is used in Super Troopers, so we know it was used again. I've ran out of places to search. I mean, I had the original prop master literally go to the prop warehouse where it originally came from, specifically to look through the catalog and, okay, telephone voice changers, aisle 87 B1214, and go and pull out every single voice changer prop that they had available in that warehouse, and it was not there. Like, so I don't know if or when it will ever turn up. Favorite Scream opening scene? I think I would always say Scream 1. I mean, how can you top the original? And they all have, it's so hard. They're so hard because there's not a bad opening scene, but I mean, in my opinion, like 4 is the weakest. I appreciate what they did with the fake out stab openings. That was really cool. But the real opening scene was really bad in my opinion. I think the original version of it was way better. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's on the Blu-ray, the deleted version. Someone did it on YouTube and like worked it back into the film with music. So much better. Pisses me off so much that a test audience somewhere said that opening scene sucked. So they went back and reshot it. And in my opinion, what they reshot was just awful compared to what we could have had. But yeah, I would say 1, but I really like 5. I really think 5's opening scene. I know that's like taboo. A lot of people hate 5 in general, but those people don't like Jenna Ortega. They don't like whatever. But man, 5 really blew me away. It was really well done. It really felt like Scream again. And, it really punched you in the face as a fan of like, holy shit, like Ghostface is scary again. Like they did it. They made him scary again. So I really like 5 too. Again, not my favorite. 1 takes that. I would never say 5 was better than 1 opening scene wise, but I really liked the opening of 5. What mask style was used the most for Scream 2022? Yeah, it's the first run 25th anniversary masks that were modified. I have one of Clive's here that was actually based off of exact everything for the Scream 5 hero masks. So aside from owning an actual Scream 5 hero mask, this is as close as you would ever get. This is a first run 25th anniversary You notice a lot of the shots in Scream 1, that one eye's just got that perfect peanut shape, and then the other one kind of gets real fat down here. It's got that going for it. It's got the bubble in the chin from the ultra white modification. So this is, I love the vanilla smell, by the way. This is as close as you will get to a hero mask from 5. This is I would call it a 1-to-1 replica. There's no feature on the hero masks that this does not have. The material's the same. We sourced everything from working with Emily, all the pictures that I have and information that I had. The back of the hood, you can see and hear it. It's got metal snap buttons. That was actually on the hero masks for Scream 5. And if you check out the inside, it has a strap, which the Scream 5 hero masks all had. It has the darker eye mesh. It's got these little screens on the eyes as well to hide the eyes better. And right there, that is the bottom half of an ultra white shoved into the chin to give it that kind of more pronounced shape that you see in the film, but that also causes that little bubble that you also see in the film. So this is the closest you will ever see to a screen used one. Yeah, and it's a first run 25th anniversary mask. Weirdest piece you own in the collection? Probably Jill's bloody contact from Scream 4. At the end of Scream 4, when Jill's in the hospital after beating the crap out of herself and her one eye's like all bloodshot. It was just a bloodshot, a bloody contact lens, like a fake VFX contact. I have that contact still floating in a little contact thing. Movie scared me the most. Oh, man. You talking about Scream movie or just movies in general? Scream movie would have to be the first one. Movies in general? That's a really tough one. Not a lot scares me, but there's been a lot of movies that freaked me out, like really bad. I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back to that. That's a good question. Stop the Killer is in the house. All right. Yes, the company I'm a part of, amazing Stop the Killer Games. We are going to be doing live videos for Stop the Killer Games coming up in October to promote the Ghostface game that is coming out that we worked on. Amazing board game. You guys are all going to love it. Definitely follow Stop the Killer Games on YouTube, because every Monday in October, I'm going to be doing a video live on the Stop the Killer channel to promote the Ghostface board game. And we're going to have a bunch of awesome giveaways. And we're actually going to reveal a lot of the aspects of the game and a lot of the really cool add-ons that you guys are just going to freak out over. We're going to do that on that channel. So yeah, subscribe to Stop the Killer Games on YouTube, because we're going to have a lot of fun in October. Do I have any of the Steelbook films in my collection? Scream 2. I don't have the Steelbook version of any of the other ones. I'm not big on Steelbooks. I love them. I love the way they look, but I'm I'm so anal about fingerprints. I just can't with steelbooks. Like, I know they're not all really bad, but most of them are so bad. Like, you can clean and dry your hands to the point that they're like the cleanest hands ever. And as soon as you touch a steelbook, it's like fingerprints everywhere. That drives me nuts. So I kind of steer away from steelbooks. And I also stopped. I didn't stop physical media, but I stopped like multiple copies of the same film on physical media unless it's a legit upgrade. Like, obviously, I'll always buy Scream in any format that it's released in, and my other favorite films, but I don't just buy like 5 versions of this exact same movie just for the sake of different artwork or a different case anymore. What's up, Davey boy? Dude, Darky Darko Fun World needs to release vanilla smelling candles. I am totally down, and I'm going to make sure RJ knows that you suggested that, because that is a freaking amazing idea, because that vanilla smell that they have for those masks, it's unmatched, in my opinion. What kind of mask was used in Scream 4? Whew! That's a long story. It's out there on the internet. Douglas Little, John Boy Productions, has some great videos on that. But if you want, I'll tell you the story. It's a long one, though. So I'll try to tell a not super long version of it. But basically, the production had very specific requests about what they wanted the mask to look like and feel like, and kind of how they wanted it to show up on camera. So Fun World, who hadn't really made any like super high quality Ghostface masks in a long time, because Scream had been dead for a long time, they decided the best route was to just basically make a custom mask to spec per what production was asking for. So that's what they did. They had a very small run of about 30. The number changes all the time, by the way. Fun World will give you a certain number. The production will give you a certain number. I think Fun World's numbers changed a few times. I mean, it happens. Like, people don't remember. It's not a big deal. Nobody's intentionally lying. But they made a very small batch of special deluxe, and I say deluxe like that because that was like their term for it at the time, deluxe Ghostface mask, specifically to be used in Scream 4 by production. And they sent about 30 to set, and then I think Fun World kept like 10 of them. They were super high quality, cost a lot. It was a whole new mold, new materials. Because it was such a small batch of like under 40 masks, they were like meticulously painted. Like, Fun World's thing to the factory was like, the paint job cannot look bad at all. It has to be a perfect paint job on every. If the mask has even a little bit of paint offset, get rid of it, do another one. So they sent those to set. Those were modified. That was the first mask that had the dwarf style hood, so they had to take those off and reshroud them and all that stuff. So that's what was used in 4 for the initial shooting. Now, when they went back to do reshoots, they asked for more masks, and Fun World didn't have any more of those particular masks. So what happened was, Fun World always intended to release those masks to the public as a deluxe movie edition mask. They had said that from day one. Well, what happened was, while they're filming the movie, they were shopping these masks around. The exact same mask from 4, like same material, same everything, same quality. And basically the cost was too high for the stores that would carry them. They would had to sell them for like $25 or something, or $35. I don't even remember what it was now. It's been so long. But the cost to produce them in the same quality that they made them for the film, the retailers would have had to sell them for a lot of money. And they were like, no, we're just going to stick with like the cheap masks. So Fun World still wanted to keep their promise of delivering the deluxe movie edition mask from Scream 4. So they did so using the same mold, but not the same materials, not the same high quality materials, not the same hood, high quality material for that. And there were some issues with that first batch. There was a test run batch made, and that was where the first issue of the dots happened from the dye that was used in the mask. It would transfer to the latex and make these little dots everywhere. Anyways, when they went to do the reshoots, they said, "Hey, we need more masks. We're doing reshoots for the movie," and most of the reshoots involve Ghostface. So Funworld's like, "Cool, we'll send you the first batch of these movie edition masks." Well, they sent them the set, and they basically couldn't use them because they had those dots on them. So they were like, "We can't use these. They have the dots. Send us something else." So Funworld didn't really have anything else really to send them, but their quote unquote counter quality masks. We've talked about this on another stream. Basically, the counter quality mask is like when like NECA toys or any company really, they're like, "Oh, look what's coming out in 6 months. Here it is." And you see that picture, it's not going to look exactly like that when you actually get it. There's going to be a lot of differences. You know, that's their like show model. So basically that's what Funworld did. They went around and collected all the show model masks that they had laying around, and boxed them up and sent them to set. And that's what was used in the reshoots. So there's your answer on the type of masks that were used in Scream 4. Apollo, is Scream 6 a love letter to part 2, and that's why we got another parent? I'm sure it's a love letter to part 2. I don't know necessarily that's why we got another parent. I mean, the writers have gone on record and said that that was not the original concept for the motive. Basically, when they wrote Scream 6, the idea they knew they wanted to do as far as the killers were, was they wanted the killers to be a family, and they wanted it to be a secret family, meaning this family is going to be characters in the movie, but we're not going to know that they're related at all. We're not going to know that they're like brother, sister, father, mother, whatever they decided to do. So that was the idea they started with. Then they got on this conspiracy kick of like, well, there's this online conspiracy that Sam is actually the killer. She's actually the killer of, what happened in Scream 5. And they decided the motive was going to be that the secret family, they were basically like conspiracy nuts, like these online conspiracy nuts, and they became so obsessed with this conspiracy that Sam was the real killer that they decided to, start murdering people around her again and do this to kind of get her to go crazy and prove that she was the real killer and punish her for what she did, because they were so sure. So that was the original idea for the ending of Scream 6. And then, it's my understanding it was very last minute. They just kind of decided, like, do you think it needs something a little bit more? Like, what if the secret family is actually Richie's family? For better or worse, some people have said they would have preferred the original version where it was just this nut job family that conspiracy, took it too far. But yeah, that's where that came from. So the mask used the most was a modified 25th. I thought it was the collector's edition mask. No, there were collector's edition masks that were left over from Scream 4. Like not modified from set, but that Fun World produced for Scream 4. There were a couple of leftover ones of those sent to set for Scream 5, but they weren't used. They were sent back because I have one and Frank McGovern has one. Why do none of the 25ths that have surfaced resemble any of the hero masks? Do you mean like I don't know what you mean, Samir. Do you mean like real like screen used ones? Or do you just mean like people that have like store bought 25ths why they don't look the same? If that's what you mean, I can tell you that they do. If you look close enough, they really do. But technically, the 25ths that were sent to set for Scream 5 were early versions, and they actually had white tags on them. Like the tag was just white, had nothing printed on it. So they were probably production samples that were sent to set. That's not confirmed. That's just my guess. My guess is that Scream 5 masks were production samples of the eventual 25th anniversary mask, whereas Scream 6, we know for a fact that they sent them second run 25th anniversary masks. Burkbench does make those 2022 replica masks. I don't know if he still does. I know he did a very limited, very, very, very limited run of them. But again, you can email him and ask him if he still makes them. I'm just reading some of your stuff. Jordan, why does Scream 4 appear to look blurry, foggy during the film? It was just a filter that they decided looked cool in post-production, I guess. I know a lot of people hate it. Apparently Wes liked it, so that's why it's there. It definitely didn't feel like the other Scream movies, but maybe Wes did that intentionally. I don't know. But yeah, it was just a post-production filter that Wes really thought looked cool. Am I able to provide you with a scene that has a 2015? Yeah, the opening scene mask from Scream 5 is a 25th anniversary mask. Also, the mask when Dewey gets killed, the hospital mask and everything, that's for sure a 25th. Email me. I promise you I will get back to you as soon as I can. No, I don't think Jill survived at all. She's definitely dead for sure. Do you own or know of any existing Scream 1 Master Rose? Wonder how much Scream. We've talked about this a few times before. There's at least 4 masks 4 costumes from Scream 4 out there in private collectors' hands, and one that Planet Hollywood in Florida has. Mask wise, there's probably 5 or 6 out there, and they're all in private collectors' hands. Has CGI ever been used to darken the eyes in any of the films? I don't think so, but if so, it would have had to have been 5 or 6, because I know for a fact it was not ever used in 1 through 4 for sure, 100%. But I don't think so. Thank you. Yeah, we are trying to do more lives. Like I said, we're still kind of messing around with the StreamYard thing and messing around with the lighting and stuff. We want it to look better. We want it to look better for you guys. So that was kind of why I hopped on here tonight, to try to, kind of mess with this a little bit more. But, like I said, I wanted to talk about the upcoming auction. How am I feeling about Scream 7 getting a new team? I mean, I think it was kind of inevitable. If it wasn't going to be 7, it was going to be 8. I think we all knew that if Radio Silence finished their trilogy, that if they ever did an 8, it was going to be somebody else. So, but, Radio Silence is staying on as producers. Kevin's staying on as a producer. We don't really know who's writing yet. It could still be James and Guy. So, the only new team, so to speak, would be like the director, which I know is a big deal. It's a big deal to change directors. But, Scream 6, they kept the same producer and directing and writing team, but because they shot in Canada, they had a whole different, everything else, effects, props, costumes, everything was different. So that was a big change too. Let me see. Can you show us one of your most favorite pieces in your collection? Are we talking Scream or just in general? Let me know, and I can do both if you want. All right, Scream, he says. All right. Hold tight. And I'm going to go get something for you guys. I will add a little countdown here just in case. Maybe I'll add a background. No, I'll just add this. All right, guys, I'll be right back. I'll show you something. All right, I'm back. I got two things to show you, actually. Ghostface did not get me yet. Not yet. Okay. Let me pull that question up again so people know what is going on. All right, so Jordan asked if I could show you one of my most favorite pieces in my collection. Yes, I actually brought two. Obviously, I showed a couple the other night on a live stream. I showed the Scream 2 hero mask and a mask from Scream 4. So I want to show you something different. One of which being, so this is what I was talking about earlier. This is one of the VFX, visual effects knives from Scream 5. There were two made for the movie. This one was used the most. Pretty much anytime somebody was killed in Scream 5 or stabbed, it was with this knife. Again, this is basically this is the new retractable, more or less. They don't really use retractables anymore because they're dangerous. So they just use one of these, and they add the blade in digitally later. So it's a full-on resin handle cast off a real buck knife. You can actually see the holes in the bottom from where they pour the mold in. But you can't see that on film because it's covered up by the hand, the glove, like that. And then this is just a little like sponge almost. And then there's little pieces of paper, pink paper, that I believe, in my opinion, it almost looks like they took a Post-it note and cut it up and glued that on. But that's it. There's a really good photo out there, behind the scenes photo of Kyle Gallner, who played Vince in Scream 5, standing next to Ghostface on set, and Ghostface is literally holding this exact knife, just like this. And so that is the knife that stabbed him in the neck. It's also the knife that stabbed Chad over and over and over again. This was probably the knife that killed Dewey. Yeah. So this is one of my favorites, just because of the history that it has. Killed a lot of people in 5. Killed Judy. Killed Dewey. Stabbed a lot of people. Probably stabbed Sydney. So there is that. There's a good look at that. VFX knife from 5. And the other thing I will show you, you guys have seen it before, but everyone seems to love when I pull it out, so we'll show you again. Roman's Trophy. Roman's Music Video Award from Scream 3. The one, the only. I have on very good word from production that there was only one of these made. This is the only one in existence. It's kind of weird to have something that's like, limited edition is one thing. When people are like, oh, I have, this figure, it's limited to 500. They only made 500 of them. That's cool. And I love stuff like that. But I'm like, yeah, but do you have something that there was only one of? So yeah, there's only one of these. There it is. It's really heavy. I just know I probably shouldn't even try to show you the wording on it. Oh, it's kind of showing up, actually, better than I thought. Let's see. Trying to get it just right. So it's really hard to make out. But it says 1999 Spectune Video Award, Best Director, Roman Bridger, for the song Tiger Striped Fur by the Rats. So there you go. There is Roman's headless trophy dropped and broken by Jenny McCarthy. You think this wasn't a message? I mean, this is it. I've shown this on Twitter to Scott Foley, and he's told me, I'm jealous. I'm so jealous of that. And I'm like, bro, I'm jealous of your Ghostface mask that you kept. He has the unmasking mask. He has the mask that he pulls off when he reveals he's the killer. I'm like, let's talk, buddy. No, he loves this. He loves that I have this. I really wish Scott would start doing conventions because I would love to bring this to him. I would love to get him to hold it for pictures, for photo ops. Plus, I have his whole costume. I mean, the photo ops would sell themselves. Like, holy crap. We got to get Scott Foley to do a convention. But yeah, there it is. Fun story about this. When we did Scream Comes Home, the live event that we did at Stu's house, I did with Anthony Massey. When was that? 2018, I think. 5 years ago now, something like that. I brought this with me on the plane, had it in my carry-on bag, and when it went through the X-ray machine, my bag, they were like, you need to step over here, and I'm like, okay, and I like walk over, and security's like, we need to go through your bag like one piece at a time, and I'm like, what's going on? And they literally said that the X-ray machine, it alerted that I had a spear in my bag, a spear, and what it was alerting to was this. If you look at the guitar, it's like, pointed almost like an arrow, and then it's got like the thing down there. It literally, the machine was like, warning, there's a spear in there. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, no. I'm like, they can't not let me take this on the plane, because you know how that works at an airport. They're just like, here's the deal, you can get on the plane, but this stays here, or you can not get on the plane and take this home with you. And I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? It's worth so much. It's a prop, like it's priceless. Like, what am I gonna do if they don't let me take it? Like, I'm gonna have to like miss my flight and call somebody to come back and pick me up and take this. It was like a nightmare. But they literally took it out. They put like their gloves on and stuff, and they're holding it, and they're like, oh, it's a trophy. And they're like, what is it? And I started to tell the guy the story. I'm like, oh, we're doing this event at the house from Scream, and that was used in Scream 3. And the guy's like, no shit. I'm like, yeah, seriously. And he's like, holy crap. He's like, this is probably the coolest thing I've ever found in someone's luggage. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I understand it's heavy and can be used as a weapon, but I was like, that's not what it's for, I promise. And he's like, no, I get it. He's like, it's just, we don't see stuff like that pop up that often. So yeah, this was flagged at Pittsburgh Airport on the way to Scream Comes Home for a potential spear in my bag. So, yes. Yes, Matty Ice. I'm missing the flight. 100%. Yep. I was ready to miss the flight and figure it out later. There was no way I was going to be like, all right, I'll get on the plane, but trust me, guys, just mail this to one, like, no, wasn't going to happen. Was not ever going to happen. Let's see. It sounded heavy. Yeah, it is heavy. I mean, it's a real trophy. Like, they 100% went to some trophy, company and had this made. It's got the felt, the cheap felt on the bottom. The base is wood. Like, this part of it is wood. But this part, like, it's heavy. It's real heavy. Yeah, super cool. I don't know. I don't know. This might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite, next to Roman's costume. Whoa, okay. What does Channing think about that? He loves it. He loves the Scream movies. He loves horror, And it honestly was like, it was never forced on him. Like, obviously, I always had, a lot of stuff like this around, but, I was very attentive and sensitive to anything like when he was like a lot younger, as far as like what bothered him or potentially like bothered him. I never exposed him to anything that he wasn't comfortable with or ready for. It was definitely a gradual introduction to that type of stuff, but he definitely, really, really, really got into it at a young age very quickly, much like I did. Yeah, Ryan, yeah, I mean, I would love like for him. I mean, he's a killer in the Scream movies, one of the most popular killers in all the Scream movies. He should absolutely do a convention. And if he did one, like, dude, we can make the most amazing photo ops happen. Like, we have the trophy. I have a knife. I have his actual costume. I have the boots. I have his boots. Like, the whole thing, top to bottom. The only thing I don't have is the voice changer. Like, best photo ops. Like, oh my gosh. What would you think of Ghostface using a ballistic knife in a future movie? I really don't want to ever see the knife change, honestly. That's my fear every time a new movie is made. Even when 4 came out, even though I was friends at that time with the prop masters that did 1 through 3, I had this instant I remember messaging Skip, Crank, and JP Jones and being like, please don't change the knife. It's like Freddy's glove at this point. You have to keep the same knife. Fans will be so mad. And they were like, we know we're cool. It's cool. We're not going to change the knife. We know that's Ghostface. He uses the buck 120. So I kind of felt dumb after that. But like it was Scream 5 was the same thing. I was like, don't change the knife. Don't change the knife. They're like, we're not changing the knife. Um, I have the same fear with 7. It's a new team. I'm like, oh, don't use the wrong knife or the different knife. Like, please don't change the knife. Did you work with Little Prop Shop to sell screen use pieces, or they forge your say? No, that's real. I had a a square about this big of fabric off of a hero robe from 5, with a spray added and everything. It was cut right off of one of the robes that was destroyed because of COVID protocols. So it was a swatch about that big. And it was amongst other things I had from 5, some wardrobe and stuff. And I didn't really have a need for the swatch. And I saw this little prop museum thing on eBay, and I was like, "That's really cool. I wonder if that'd be cool to see like Scream 5 be a way to give." And I had no aspiration to do it myself. They already did it. Again, I'm kind of one of those guys that's like, "What do I need to do it for?" They're already doing it so well. So I just contacted them and said, "Hey, I've got this swatch, and I actually cut it in half. I was like, I'll sell you this half piece of it, and you could probably make I don't know how many." uh, of your little displays, but they're really cool. If you want to buy this or whatever, just let me know. And they were cool with it. So I wrote them a COA, signed it and everything. But yeah, no, that came right off of a hero robe that was set to be destroyed after filming. Do you think I'll ever work with HSPPA? I don't know. I've never personally sold anything from them, or to them. Uh, I know of them. I've seen them at a few shows. They've got some pretty cool stuff. I actually heard a rumor, and I don't even know if it's true or not, so don't quote me on that. But I heard from a few people that they were supposedly not going to be around anymore. That they were disbanding and selling the collection. Could be a total rumor. HSPPA, if that's wrong, by all means. Uh, I'm making it clear that's not. I'm not claiming that as fact. I just literally recently heard that like a couple weeks ago from a couple of different prominent collectors in the hobby that they were supposedly getting out of it and selling their collection. Um, but no, I mean, they've got a really cool collection. I've just never dealt with them. I think the only experience I ever had with them was I gave them a photo of a prop that they have that wasn't like watermarked. It's kind of a long story, but they had like a prop from Scream 4 and it looked different. What they had was different than what was used in the film, but there was a reason for that. And I had a behind the scenes photo of that prop, like brand new and exactly what it was used for. And I had posted it online years back with a watermark across it, and they had messaged me and asked me like, "Hey, can we have that photo unwatermarked so we can display it because we actually own that now?" Which I sent it to them. Do I know what scenes the 2017 mask was used in 5? The reason I keep asking question 5 is I love the look of the movie. No, I love the look of the movie too. I don't know for 100% sure. I do know that it was used in at least one scene, but pretty much every other scene was the 25th anniversary first run / prototypes, whatever you want to call them. But the majority of the masks used were the 25th anniversaries for sure. All-time favorite quote from the Scream movies. Oh God. Ugh. That's a rough question. All-time favorite from any Scream movie. Oh, that's rough. There's so many. There's too many. I feel like there's too many. What I can say, I guess, is like what comes to mind when I think of that question. Probably, obviously, what's your favorite scary movies up there? Not in My Movie. I love that one. I love in Scream 4. I love when Ghostface says, "I'm gonna slit your eyelids open so you don't blink when I stab you in the face." I love that. Don't fuck with the original. I love when Billy says to Gail when she is holding the gun on him when he's like, "I know something you don't." I love that. Oh, there's so many. That's so hard to pick a favorite. I'm just trying to like rattle off the ones that come to mind. Who the fuck is Paul? And 6 is great. Yeah. Uh How come retail copies don't look like the ones in the film? Is it because they're modified? Also, what Scream 6 auction you're talking? Okay. How come? Yeah, I mean that's any of the movies. People have been asking from like the get go, like even in the earlier days of the internet and the Scream community online, like why don't the masks that you buy in the store look exactly like they do on the screen? Well, that's exactly why, because they modify them. They modify them, and they're under studio lights. And sometimes the modifications are like on the fly. There was a lot of on the fly modifications with Scream 4 where it was like they're in the middle of shooting and they're like, oh, we want the mouth to be shiny. So they would literally run up with like a thing of chapstick and they would smear chapstick all over the mouth, and then it would be super shiny for that one shot or angle that they wanted, and then they go in and rub it off. But yeah, it was a combination of modifications and lighting and all sorts of stuff like that for all the films. The Scream 6 auction, the Bowman Jack auction, for it's a charity auction. They auctioned off the opening scene mask from Scream 6 earlier this year for charity, and it went for 27,000. They just announced today that they are auctioning off one of the Billy Loomis aged masks from Scream 6 for charity. So that is what I'm talking about as far as the Scream 6 auction goes. Did they re-sew the masks in 5 and 6 to have tighter jaw lines? I don't think that was the intention. They re-sewed them because they reshrouded them. They took the hoods off and they made their own custom hoods and sewed them on. The jaw lines look different because they literally took an ultra white mask and cut it in half and took that bottom part of the ultra white, like the chin, they shoved it inside the chin of the 25th anniversary, so it gave the jaw a more pronounced look. That one, Dino, is great. She looked dead, still does. That's got to be one of the best. That's definitely one of the best, Jordan. Just added a short to my channel, my life-size ghost face. I will check that out, Images of the age mask being auctioned. Yeah, go to Twitter and look at RJ Torbert's Twitter. The last probably 2 tweets he has is about that. And there's a photo of it, of the actual mask. It was donated by Paramount. It's still got the tag on it that's tagged for what it was used or intended to be used for. It's definitely one of the several versions of the Billy Loomis aged mask from Scream 6 to be auctioned off. Let's see. What scene is the Scream 5 swatch used in? I couldn't tell you, honestly. Could not tell you the exact scene. I can just tell you for sure that it was cut off of a robe that was used on screen heavily, which is why it was set to be destroyed after a day or two of filming. And that was all due to those super strict COVID protocols. Super excited for Scream 7. Favorite zombie movie ever? Probably the original Dawn of the Dead, just because it was filmed locally out this way at Monroeville Mall, Pittsburgh. Yeah, I would have to go with the original Dawn of the Dead for sure. Yeah, I mean, at this point, in my opinion, that's about as good as an ultra white is. That's about as much as an ultra white's good for, in my opinion, anymore these days. Go to Walmart and buy one for $5 and just cut it right across here, right, like right across there, and just take that chin part and shove it down in there, and you will get that Scream 5 pronounced chin and little bubble in the mouth look. Yeah, that was the pretty much what I was brought on to Scream 5 to do, was to help them with the costume. I mean, I only had so much, my input only went so far. Obviously, you're dealing with a new designer that had their own ideas and had their own interpretations that they wanted to put in. I was very clear of certain things that should not be changed. I was clear with certain things that, people probably would be less frantic about if they were changed. And I know not everybody loved the design, but I get it. I get Emily's. I got where she was coming from. Um, Her thought was that with it having been so long since the last movie, that these are supposed to be store-bought Halloween costumes. And her thought was that, at some point these would be manufactured differently, and they would either have a slightly updated design, or maybe they were made by a completely different company now and, looked slightly different. So that was her thought process as far as making some of the changes she did. Someone ever asked for your Scream 3 screen use costume, how much money would you part with it for? I probably would never part with it, honestly. I mean, it's not even an if. People ask me that every day. I get emails all the time and messages from collectors wanting to buy it, and it's just a no. What started my love for the Scream movies? Seeing the first one the first time and being blown away by it. That's the most honest answer I can give. I mean, there's a lot of reasons behind that. I was very into the fact that it was so different. One of the things that stood out for me was all of the horror movie talk in it, where you really felt like, holy crap, like they're talking about Friday the 13th. They're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. They're talking about Halloween. These movies exist. Like, there's a horror movie where horror movies exist, and the characters have seen them all. And it's like they're in a horror movie, but they've seen horror movies, and it's like reality. It's like it's taking place in real life. But yeah, that's the short answer is seeing the original and being blown away from the first viewing and instantly becoming obsessed and wanting to watch it again and again and again and again. Were the modifications for the unpainted white mask in 6 the same as 5? More or less. They definitely still had the ultra whites shoved in the chin, and the eye mesh was modified, and they had different hoods attached. I'm sure the hoods were made a little bit differently than Emily's design, but overall, yeah, the modifications were basically the same. How do they do the reveal scenes if they have Velcro? Is it just really bad Velcro that comes off easily, or do they use a mask? So you're talking about when somebody like has the full costume on, like hood, mask, and then they just pull it off? Yes, the answer to that is that they don't attach the Velcro for those shots. They do have masks in certain films and certain scenes where there's not Velcro, But a lot of the times for the reveal masks, especially in the older films, because what they would do is that, that flap that comes down, and actually you can see it. I'm going to show you something. So this, again, I showed this on the last stream, but this is the one of the hero masks from Scream 2. And you can see the Velcro right there. So as you can see, it's this part of the hood that actually flops down. They fold it back, and that's where the Velcro is attached. So if you watch the reveal in Scream 2, and I'm not saying this is the reveal mask, I'm almost positive it's not. I do know what scene it was for sure used in. This is the mask that is worn by Ghostface when he's chasing Gale through the sound booth and, Tax Dewey, all that stuff. That's this mask. But if you watch the scene where Mickey gives his reveal on Scream 2 when he's pulling his mask off, if you watch, the hood of the mask kind of has this weird, like, little bubble thing, like, going on right there. And somebody a long time ago had posted that they felt like the stitching was coming out of the mask, but it's not that. It's for the unmasking. What they did was they took the Velcro part and they folded it down, and that created this kind of weird little, like, it's hard to recreate it for you guys, but it's basically looks like that. It's like this, like, weird space there. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, it looks like the top of his mask isn't stitched on." No, it is. It's just the Velcro flipped down, and that Velcro piece is like basically like this in the shot. So watch it again, you can see it. But yeah, it's just the Velcro that's stitched on, because this is all hand stitched. The Velcro is on this mask and all the masks from 2 that had the Velcro. So yeah, there you go. There's another look at the Scream 2 Gale chase scene and Dewey stabbing scene mask. There you go. I'm not zoning out. I'm literally reading your comments as I felt like it looked like I was zoning out there for a second. I'm just reading your comments as I'm turning this side to side for you to check it out at all angles. Do I know anyone who owns a Scream 2022 Hero EU mask? No. Most of them were destroyed or kept by Radio Silence. Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, I guess it's really the only. Yeah, it's the only Scream movie that doesn't have an actual, like, costume, like, actual literal unmasking. I guess they just never was never written like that. They never thought of doing it that way. But yeah, seriously, watch Mickey's unmasking in Scream 2 again. You can absolutely 100% tell that the mask has Velcro on it, but all they did was flip it down like this when he's pulling the mask off. You can see it, like, plain as day. So check that out the next time you watch Scream 2. Put that back. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up. We've been on for about 2 hours. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. Um, I am still planning on doing the other live stream this Saturday night. I'm trying to get a schedule going. Where we'll have like a set like day and time every week that we'll do one of these. I'm just trying to figure it out around the Stop the Killer thing. Like I said, you can catch me on Stop the Killer Games YouTube channel every Monday in October. Tentatively, that's what we're going for every Monday. We're going to do amazing giveaways and reveals for Ghostface the board game. So definitely check that out. But I'm planning on this Saturday night, doing another live stream with another giveaway. I have another figure to give away and a couple more different items to give away on that live stream. So we will definitely tune in for that one. And I kind of like doing it this way. I like just having it open and people asking questions and me showing stuff. And of course, if there's anything exciting in the Scream and Ghostface world to talk about between now and then, we'll definitely talk about it then. But absolutely, you're welcome. Thank you, Yandel. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Darko. Thank you, Mudbucket. Thank you, Dino. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jester. Thanks, everybody that tuned in and everybody that watches this after the fact. We will see you guys Saturday. I will post tomorrow. I'll post a link with the exact date and time for the next live stream and giveaway. And we'll see you guys then. Peace, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.